Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the stories of people who make Clarksville the best place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr. Hey, thanks so much for finding us. Got a great episode planned for you today. But before we start, if you will, please like, subscribe, do something on this channel to help us grow our reach. You know, the social platforms, the different websites out there, they really value engagement. So any way you interact with us helps us spread this positive message of Clarksville and the great people who live here. So we really appreciate your feedback, comments, share it with your friends, any way that you can help us spread this message. Hey, today's guest is someone I'm really excited about, someone that is moving the ball forward in our community in a lot of different ways, taking chances on himself and his family, building new things, creating new things, something who's always on the move and adding value to the people in his circle. It is Kevin Smith, Legends Barbecue, Steakhouse, all kinds of things. He's got so many names on it just because he's constantly creating and adding things. But you know it as Legends, the food truck, the site down on Riverside, just doing amazing things. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us today, hopping on here, spending some time with us. I'm really excited about this. And I think let's just jump right in it. Let's start talking about Legends. I think, you know, I know a little bit about your story, but other people don't know all about the story. They may have just driven by on Riverside and see where you are now, but they don't know, Kevin Smith, the story of the food truck. They don't know before that. Where did you start? Where did you start having a passion for this? How did it all get going?
I am not a big sleeper.
Okay.
So
like define not a big sleeper.
if I can get 3-4 hours a night, I'm good.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's like Eric Thomas. You ever heard of Eric Thomas, the speaker? Like, that's like ET level sleep. Okay.
My wife shuts me off at 7:00. I am not allowed to talk business after 7:00.
Yeah.
And one night I come in the house, I'm like, hey, I'm going to make a barbecue sauce. And I start tinkering with it, and I would start messing with my neighbors, and my neighbors would be like, nah, that's not it.
Yeah.
And then once it got to be about 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and they were like, call me if you got something.
Yeah.
I knew I was on to something.
Okay.
So next thing you know, I got this sauce, and I think I'm really good at it. Off on the road, I'm on a road trip driving to Virginia, and I'm buying a smoker. Never smoked a day in my life. Never seen it done.
How old are you at this point?
Let's see. This was just 5 years ago. Wow. So I was 45 years old.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
I bought this smoker.
I'm telling you, I did not know your story. This is fantastic.
Oh my God. I didn't either until it started happening. And I'm driving back from Virginia, and my mind is just running. It just constantly just runs. And then boom, we have a couple blowouts. We get back here. And next thing you know, I'm running to the commissary because my wife's prior sheriff retires. So we were running to the commissary. We're buying all these meats. And I'm like, let me start with the simple things.
Yeah.
Anybody can make a chicken.
Okay.
Not true. I like my chicken moist. It was dry. So I was like, it's not as easy as I thought it was.
Okay.
And so then I started working on ribs, and then everybody's like, oh, wow, the meat's got to fall off the bone. Yeah. I'm like, that's what they say. Well, for those of us that know, if the meat's falling off the bone, it's overcooked. So I had to learn all these things.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, let me learn how to make a brisket.
Yeah.
I didn't know I liked hockey until I started making brisket. And it was rock hard, like hockey pucks. Like it just dries. And that's an expensive piece of meat to mess up. So
I'm glad you said that because, you know, for the amateurs among us, which I guess you were an amateur for a long time,
yes.
That's one of those hurdles you got to get over if you try to start doing your own thing. Is
you better.
There's added cost into it just by your failure, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, failure is expensive. It's very expensive.
Yes.
And it got to the point to where I started learning these things, and I would start using my neighbors as my test subjects.
Yeah. Okay.
And so once they started coming to the back door and they were like, hey, are you cooking today? Or I would have my smoker out front. Are you cooking today?
It's like that the little Dave Chappelle picture. He comes up to you scratching your neighbors.
You got that barbecue.
Yeah.
Man, and so it took off from there, and I would just cook in the neighborhood, and I would just make things for the neighbors and friends. And I had to find a niche because I was always driving to Nashville for barbecue. And that's what really motivated me to get started. Is I didn't know a whole lot here.
Yeah.
And I needless to say, I didn't do the research to find out who all was here. All I knew was a couple places. We'll just leave it at that. And so I would drive to Nashville and I would eat. And I was like, this is getting old.
Yeah.
You know, and so let me learn. And then I just started teaching myself. And before you know it, I would drive to Nashville and I found out that car dealerships do not like for their people to leave on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they'll miss a sale.
That's right.
Well, I saw opportunity because I was working at a car dealership at
right.
the time.
Okay.
And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. So I would cook for them and take food in. And then one car dealership led to two, and a two, and a four, and four. And before I knew it, we were servicing 12 to 14 car dealerships on the weekend, just driving food to Nashville. And I was like, man, this is really
Picking
something.
Up. Yeah.
And so I would start setting up a tent on the side of the road off of Backwell. So if you haven't figured this out, I started in my house.
Yeah.
And we did that for about 6 months. And we had to get legit.
Sure.
And then I went and got my permits and my licensing. So I had to start using a commercial kitchen. I'm like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way. Well, back up. My wife said that. Yeah. And so
behind every great story is the wisdom of a woman pushing you toward being legal.
Yes, towards being legal. That's exactly it.
Right.
And so next thing you know, man, we're sitting out there with tents on the side of the road, and we would have to go to our commercial kitchen and cook and log stuff back and forth. My wife set the smoker on fire a couple times. So if you ever drove down Madison Street where the Shell gas oil change in the car wash is, there was a gentleman by the name of Rick. He was so awesome. He let us sit there. And I'm on my way to Nashville one day to do all my drops. Next thing I know, my wife's calling me, it's on fire. It's on fire. So she just burned all my wings and everything. And the smoker's just on fire.
Yeah.
So we've done that. We've had our tents blow out into Madison Street. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing, man. And so next, I had my tent. I had a trailer, an enclosed trailer, because we own a lawn company too. When I say I don't sleep, I was doing real estate. I was doing Ubering. I was doing cable. And I have my own lawn company.
Oh
I don't sleep. Yeah. So if I'm that guy that's like, if I'm awake, I'm going to figure out a way to make money.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of doing all of that, Legends was born, and I took one of my trailers, I cut a hole in it, and taught myself how to build food trailers.
Wow. And
we would go down there and we'd set up, we'd open it up, and next thing you know, I was blessed. I mean, it's all worked out, man. I tell people all the time I'm blessed. I'm blessed, but I also work really, really hard. Yeah. And so when you put those two things together, man, it's awesome. And so next thing you know, I get a phone call from a guy. He's like, man, I got this food truck. And I was going to turn it into a food truck. Okay. I'm like, well, what do you want for it? I buy it from him. Yeah. And I'm like, got to teach myself how to build a food truck. Yeah. Because I'm that guy. I'll go online. I say it's $130,000. I ain't got $130,000 sitting around, but I can figure out how to do it on my own. So I would pair it with some of my buddies. We'd figure it out, and we'd be in there just tinkering. And man, since then I've learned how to do plumbing, electrical, gas. I've learned how to do it all. And in the midst of all this, I've gotten pretty good at it. Yeah. And before you know it, we were doing the football games at Austin Peay. Mm-hmm. We were doing the football games at UT Knoxville. Okay. We used to cater to numerous teams in Knoxville. We would drive out, and that's what that led me to believe that I was really on to something.
Yeah, well, you've really dropped some nuggets here. What I've heard is a commitment to being able to learn new things. Yes. Regardless of the stage of life that you're in. Not being stopped by failure. No. When mistakes happen, you just pivot, you change, you keep moving, you keep grinding. Relying on people around you, whether it was your wife or your friends. You got to have people to help get you to that next season. I'm glad you mentioned the time out at Madison Street. Of course, I remember.
That's where we met.
That's where we met. Right. It's an important part of your journey. I've eaten at pregame at the Austin Peay games before. You've been down there. It's just, it's a fantastic story of how this, and if I know you, the story ain't over yet. There's no telling what's coming.
It's not over. Yeah. Pre-COVID, we were actually approached, for a couple TV shows. Okay. We've gotten through, but one of them was, they wanted to know like, well, how's it working with your wife? Yeah. Do you guys fight all the time? I'm like, no, we're not. We're not about that. We don't, yeah. She says what she says, and I just say, okay. Yeah. Even when she's wrong, I'm like, okay, because she's never wrong. Yeah. But it's just, everything happens in a season. Yeah. So when that time comes, we'll be ready. Wow. And so it's been great. It's really been, it's been phenomenal. Yeah. It's been a great ride.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I admire about you is you seem to have a real passion for creating. You know, you
Yes.
talked to us about you were creating sauces
Yes.
that then began to create different, you know, experiences with the meat. And your menu is one of the most unique. It's just it's like a constant creativity journey, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm sure you're driving your staff crazy along the way with all these new things.
Yeah, between
Sure.
them and my wife,
Yeah.
it's brutal.
Yeah. But I mean, that's obviously an ethic, a core value of yours to provide value in new ways. So where'd that come from? You know, is it just you? Is that
It is. I am a self-motivated self-starter, and I love what I do.
Yeah.
But I love the creative side of it.
Okay.
It's taking just something that everyone else is doing
Yeah.
and making it your own, or taking it to the next level. Now, everybody may not like it. They may be like, oh, that's nasty. Well, everyone's taste buds are different.
Sure.
You know, and so I don't ever say something is nasty. It just may not fit you.
Sure.
So it started with one barbecue sauce. Now I have about 14. We have peanut butter, blueberry, peach bourbon, mango habanero, Lucy. Quick story on Lucy. I don't know if you've tried that one yet.
I've not tried Lucy
You got to
yet.
come down and try
Okay.
Lucy. One of my neighbors, they were devout followers when we started.
Yeah.
They'd be like, well, what do you have new? What do you have new? And all the different sauces. And so one night they were out walking their dog, and they're like, what do you have? And they walk up to me, and I'm like, well, I have this new sauce, and it's hot. And then her mom's like, well, she likes hot stuff.
Yeah.
And I think she's about 7 or 8 at the time.
Okay.
These are my buddies. And I'm like, no, I don't think she'll want this. This is really hot.
really
She's
hot,
like, no,
yeah.
she likes hot stuff. I'm like, okay. So I give it to her. The mom said I could give it to her.
You had parental consent.
There you go, man. As long as you got that, it is what it
Yeah, you're
is.
good.
And so I just did a little fork or whatever, and I give it to her. And next thing you know, she's like, the devil's in my mouth. The devil's in my mouth. So I mean, we're sitting there just rolling. And hence we call the sauce Lucy.
Wow.
Which is short for.
Well, if that's the description of what it is,
You gotta
it's going to
try
have to
it.
be a special day for me to come down there
You
and
gotta
try.
try. You gotta try it. I mean, it'll make you
I
sweat.
love it. Yeah. That's
But-
well, hey, if there's somebody out there listening and watching and they're like, man, we need something unique and hot, it's Lucy.
We got you.
You
We
got the Lucy sauce.
The Lucy,
Wow.
the Phoenix, the Habaneros. We got
Yeah,
you.
that's awesome. So eventually, you know, success, you keep moving the ball forward. The food truck did phenomenal. You're going to
Yes.
different places. And now you're down on Riverside.
Yes.
Standalone, brick and mortar.
Blessed.
How'd you get there?
Man, it's we were in a situation that we needed to get out of, and lo and behold, I ran into a friend of mine that owns Queen City
Okay.
restaurant.
Yeah.
And he gives me a call. He's like, "Hey, I'm hearing this place is coming open." It wasn't even out yet.
Okay.
And you know, people say God works in mysterious ways. I'm like, no, we just don't understand it. It's not that it's mysterious. We just don't understand. And 2 days later, we had came to an agreement. We're moving into this place. And,
Wow.
you know, I look back from where I've come from, because it was like, I'm going to start in my house because it's cheap. It's not going to cost me a lot. I can make all this money and not pay. And man, we did that for like 6 months. My wife's like, that's it. You're legit. And so I had to go out and find a commercial kitchen. And then it's like, well, if you're going to set up in this kitchen, it's going to be $500 a month. I'm like, God,
I didn't have that expense.
I'm just doing this on the weekend.
That's right.
You know, you want $500?
Yeah.
And he always makes ways for me. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, we fell into this situation. Someone's like, well, we're opening up XYZ and it has a commercial kitchen, $1,000 a month. I'm like, oh my God.
Keeps coming.
Okay, we'll do it. And man, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, this building has come open and you got to pay X amount of money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ugh, you know, and it's just, when I say blessed,
Yeah.
man, it is such an understatement.
Well, you did an incredible job with it. For those who haven't been there, decor on the inside is amazing. You keep that smell on the inside. You know, you walk in, you know you're in a real barbecue spot. I remember seeing a picture on social media. I believe it was your daughter who was painting.
It is
one of the, you know, some of the decor inside there. That's very incredible. Obviously, you know, family involved business, and she's worked there, some when she's been home, and she's off doing her big own things.
Yeah, they come home, they're going to work.
They're going to work.
I mean, they're on my credit card, so that's my payment. When they come in, you're going to work.
You're still on payroll.
Yeah, that's but the decor we did on our own.
Yeah.
I'd have some friends come in and help me do some wood and metal, and when I couldn't be there, they'd clean. And
wow.
It's just the vision. Before we even moved into it, I already had the vision of what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And so it's been a great journey.
Yeah.
The people down in Oregon's, they dealt with me. They were just like, you need what, you need what, you need what every day. And they were just always there for me. And we were fortunate and blessed that when they had their 100-year anniversary, we catered it for them.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really awesome.
Yeah.
It just comes full circle.
It does. I love that about this town, because even just while we've been sitting here, you've mentioned how people who have long, deep roots in this community, they want to see the city grow. They want to see people in the city be successful. Even, someone like you who's maybe not a native to our town,
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Queen City. That's Mr. Weekly, right?
It is.
Right. He's been around forever. He's in deep with all of the relationships in the restaurants here, just by the nature of his business. You bring up the Organ family.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around multi-generations. They see something coming along that's down the street for them.
Yeah.
They're helping you out. That's one of the things where when you talk about how does the community invest in itself, when this is it. You notify people of opportunities that are coming along. You help people seize opportunities when they come along. You get to be a part of great celebrations, and it just does become full circle.
Yeah.
And I know you've been a part of a lot of really cool things over the years. Yeah. And, you become a part of people's story. When somebody has a great event, they remember the food they ate there.
Oh yeah. They will.
That's it. They remember the food they ate there. Well, so one thing that you got in your restaurant that I think is really important for us to talk about is the +1 program, or the and one program.
Yes,
and this is just something you came up with on your own.
Yes.
So it's called +1.
It's a +1 program.
Okay. Tell me about it.
Well, what it is prior service, my wife's prior service. I'm sure you've gone to balls and banquets where they want to know who's your +1.
Okay.
So your wife or someone like that.
Right.
And so what I did is when people come in is we all want to do things to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I was like, well, if you come in, you buy an extra meal, then I can help you. Whereas you donate the meal, we match the meal, and we go out and we feed other people with those meals. And that's just, I hate to keep using the word that I'm blessed and fortunate, whatever you want to call it. But once you're blessed, you have to help others. Yeah. And so that's the way I go about it. So we have our +1 program. We have a scholarship at Austin Peay.
Yeah.
We have I know I've been telling people this since I've opened, is that I want to open up one Monday out of the month for people with special needs. And I'm thinking it's going to be this month. We're seeing getting closer. It's just been labor's been the issue.
Sure.
So we're going to do that, and man, it's just. I think the plan this year is possibly to have a second scholarship at Austin Peay.
Wow.
So I just love. It's been awesome. It's been an awesome ride.
Well, and I think as people, when we start to talk about, hey, let's value local business, let's support local business, those are the things that are unique to local business, is because you get to make the decision.
Yes.
You get to decide where you're going to impact the community. Whatever the Lord puts on your spirit to bless people, you get to act on it. Exactly. You're not running it up the chain.
No.
You're not having anybody else to ask but your wife. And thankfully she's on board with you too.
All on board.
But when you come up with an idea of a generous spirit to say, hey, let's create a program where people can +1 and we can help feed people who might be in need, or we can be a safe place for a family who may have a difficult time accessing restaurant space, just come out to eat. Like, let's just do it together. Let's be that place. When you're supporting a business like Legends on a random Saturday, randomly for lunch on Wednesday, you bring your team out there, you're supporting the ability for these owners to then use their creative giftings to bless people.
Others. I feel like that's the only way we are going to heal as a people. I feel like we are so divided, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's like that. It's just that these last few years have just been so brutal. And my ultimate goal is to maybe find someone that has enough land where we can put out tables and just have a dinner where you just bring a lawn chair and you sit next to someone you don't know. Black, white, male, female, and just get to know that person for who they are. And what better conversation piece than food?
Absolutely.
Because if I can put a good rib in front of you, and if it's good, you're going to talk about it.
You're going to talk about it. This is the conversation starter right here.
There you go. And that's what we need, man. It doesn't matter rich or poor or homeless or whether you live in Danford or whatever it is. Where all the money is.
Sure.
Places like that, we're all the same.
Wow.
We are all the same, man.
I love that idea to try to unite people that come from different places, because you're right. That's the way that we're going to heal.
Yes.
And it's got to be something that's bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
And for you to use your gifting, your skill to come up with ideas of a way to foster that is really impactful. That's it. I know that you've got just a great value on your team.
Yes.
And, I think, if you pay attention to the Legends following, that, part of their ethic is we're going to provide a meaningful value to our team, because they're the ones who bless us when we come in and eat. Exactly. And, I think sometimes people lose perspective that when the owner of a small business is going above and beyond maybe what others around you are doing, it's hard to sometimes see how the math works out. You're kind of doing your math in your head as a customer, but everyone knows that when you go into Legends, you're buying your food, but you're supporting an idea also that people are valuable, and that you can invest in something that's kind of beyond just a plate. Right?
Exactly. And I look at it, I've been an employee before, and I will always be, well, they're not paying me enough. They're not paying me enough. Or why does this cost so much? Why does that cost so much? And now I see those hidden costs that as a consumer, I didn't see.
Sure.
I want to know, why am I paying $10 for that plate or $12 for that plate? Well, it's because you're also providing for someone's livelihood.
Yes.
And you're also providing for that business to be in business, to provide that opportunity.
Yes. To be able to go above and beyond.
Exactly. Right. Like, no one makes minimum wage. No one.
Right.
But I don't want it to stop there.
Right.
What else can I do?
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to charge you $30 for a piece of brisket, but it's just like the market for food has gone through the roof. The price is just ridiculous, and I've actually come down on my prices a little bit to try to help. We don't sell wings. I'm sure you've had our wings. I don't sell them anymore. Every once in a while we'll sell them, but I just can't justify selling it for $2. Yeah, because they're good. But I don't want to lose customers because they're like, well, he's selling them for too much. Yeah. Well, when's the last time you bought some? Yeah. But
we don't have that perspective. We don't know what costs are. We don't know all the hidden costs, the repair cost of your equipment, things like that. Even just the gas to run your generator on the food truck. Yeah. We don't know what that is, and sometimes those fixed costs.
We're all seeing those gas prices.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love talking about Legends, but we would be remiss. You might not be the most successful person in your family, right? Well, you got some kids who have done some great things. So, you're an amazing dad. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that if you do things the right way, I'll start here. How much time we got?
I don't know. You got it.
Man, a lot of people don't know this, but I grew up in a very abusive home. Okay. Physically and verbally. Mm-hmm. I was always told I would never be anything. Call names, when I say physically, I mean very bad. And my mom was always telling me, she tells me now, she's like, well, the reason you are successful is because of me. And my dad's no longer here. And I was always fighting her for years with every business I've had. No, it's because of me. It's because of me. Until one day, God said to me, she's right. Because she showed you everything not to do.
Wow.
And so I've taken that, and I love my mom. I love my mom. I have my dad. I have no ill feelings whatsoever. I just saw her this past weekend. She says, buy me this or do that. I'm going to do it because it's my mom.
Right.
And man, but it was so right because now I've taken that attitude into my life to where my kids are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say phenomenal, I mean phenomenal. I've never had issues out of my kids, ever. My son, great kid, just like me, football, baseball, basketball, did it all.
Yeah.
Full ride to the University of Kentucky.
Awesome.
I think the only thing I paid for was the application fee. Every school he applied to.
That's a blessing.
It is. Every school he applied to, he got accepted.
Wow.
But I know what you're getting at. My daughter.
Yeah.
We've been through it even with her. Full ride to University of Tennessee academically and athletically. My son scored a 28 on his ACTs.
Okay.
She scored a 33. She won a 34. She tried like 5 times.
That one more point.
Couldn't get it. We were like, look, that's it. I'm not paying anymore.
It's good.
But she started playing golf at the age of 12 because I didn't have anyone to play with. My wife bought me some clubs. She's like, you're not baseball anymore. You're not doing basketball anymore.
Get out and do
I think
something.
she was telling me I was getting fat. Is what it was. And so I get these clubs and I'm like, I don't have anyone to play with. So I go to Dick's and I buy a box of clubs for her. And we go out to Eastland Green and I show her how to hold a club. Hey,
Wow.
Tiger Woods taught me,
Yeah.
via watching golf.
Right.
And next thing you know, she's just crushing it, just down the middle. And people are starting to come up like, how long has she been playing? I was like, you see that box on the ground over there? This is the first time this girl swung clubs.
Wow.
And I call one of the professionals here, Paul Power, since we're
Okay.
going to be name dropping now.
Name drop.
Man, I went to Paul. I called Paul on the phone. Great guy. Love him to death. Paul will always be family. And I called him and I'm like, I have a daughter. He's like, well, how old is she? I'm like, well, she's 12. Yeah, but that's his word. But she's a little late in the game, you know. But bring her down.
Okay.
I'll take a look at her. Probably within like the first 2 to 5 minutes, Paul's like, I'll take her.
Yeah. He saw it.
He saw it.
She had it.
He knew when he saw her.
Yeah.
And that same work ethic that I have and that my wife has, my kids have.
That's awesome.
Every talent that we have, they've been blessed with.
Yeah.
And man, she gets out there and she just starts doing what he tells her to do. And she's playing. And we go to our first tournament and we're playing with a lot of the girls from here in town. And, we're down at Vanderbilt Legends. She shoots 96, 99. I'm like, what the? Well, no, this is not what we're paying for, and she's boohooing and I'm yelling and screaming. And I'm like, no, you didn't do this, and this. And next thing you know, we go out to the next tournament at Legacy in Springfield. And I'll never forget this. And this is why I say we need to heal.
Okay.
They pull these kids off the golf course. And they're taking like all these photos of all these kids that are in the tournament, except for one. And my daughter's out there putting by herself. And I told her, I said, this has nothing to do with you. They have to learn to accept that this is everyone's game. Take it out on the golf course. She won by 27 strokes. Yeah.
Wow.
27 strokes. And she won like her next few tournaments by like 20 plus strokes. She played with some really awesome girls at Richview, her 7th grade year, and was told she could be on the B team. I was like, we'll take it. Then her 8th grade year, she becomes like the one.
Okay.
And we go to regionals and I'm like, hey, it's your first time. Just go out there and have fun and play.
Have fun.
And they win regionals by 33 strokes. She beats the second place person by 30 strokes. So I'm like, we might be on to something here. And then from there, next thing you know, she's sponsored by Titleist and FootJoy, and she's designing her own shoes.
Lots
and they're
of
sending all her
opportunity.
clubs.
Yeah.
And one of the people that really got us involved was Kevin Toon. Funny how I know all these Kevins, right? You know Kevin Toon.
Right.
He bought her first ever membership at Swan Lake.
Okay.
One of her biggest supporters was a really great guy. Hate that we lost him. Was Mark Grant. Mark Grant got to meet her, and I think she played with the tournament with him somewhere or something. He wanted, Mark was real supportive. He would buy her golf balls every year. Titleist Pro V1s. He would get her name put on them, whatever school she was at. And Mark was all about Mariah. He was like, if she ever needs anything,
just get it.
You let me know. Him and Felicia Farnsworth. And we get into high school, and everyone's like, this girl's going to win state every year. But it never happened. Her freshman year, we're on hole 17, I believe. And I think she started on 10. And she gets into 17. She's like 2 under.
Yeah.
We walk away like 9 over or something like that.
Yeah.
And sophomore year, something happens. I'll tell you what. We're in a bunker on the 18th hole in a fairway bunker. She pulls out a 3-wood. You and I both know it doesn't have enough loft on it to get over the lip. Puts it into the lip, doesn't make state. Junior year, I do forget what happened, but senior year, it all came together. But her junior year, we were on the circuit. We were AJGA. We're traveling. She's only playing tournaments that she's like really invited to senior year. And we started to do our college visits. And man, I'm like a diehard Tar Heel fan.
Okay.
I mean, we had a horrible game last night, but man, it was brutal. So we're visiting North Carolina. I'm like, hey, this is where you got to go. You got to go. You got to go to North Carolina. This is where you were born.
Right. Yeah.
And we end up coming back, and we visit a couple other schools, and then we go visit Knoxville. And she's like, I don't want to go to Tennessee. I'm leaving Tennessee. I'm not going to Tennessee. And originally she was going to go to Kentucky. Okay. Because my son was in Kentucky.
Gone there,
my wife's a huge Kentucky fan. Man, we go to Knoxville. Probably within 5 minutes, they offer her. On the way back, she's like, Dad, I'm going to Tennessee. I'm like, but what about Carolina?
Yeah. And you forgot. Dad's a fan. I was the one been driving you around.
And man. And that was
baby
it.
blue.
That was it.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, she's a state champ her senior year. She's won regionals. She's won junior tournaments. 2019, I believe, she was a Tennessee Women's Amateur Champion.
Wow.
When she graduated high school, she was the 72nd ranked player in the country. Then she got as low as 124th ranked amateur in the world. And that's how she got invited to Augusta National. Beautiful course. She was just under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the golf. It was, how does it feel to be the first African American? How does it feel to be the first Black? How does it feel to see? And these are a lot of stories. She went through a lot of things that people don't know. Yeah. That we had to deal with being Black or African American, or whatever you want to say, that most kids don't deal with. So it taught her to be tougher. Yeah. And I think Augusta, it was just different. Sure. But she didn't make the cut or anything, but she goes out to her next tournament at Clemson and finishes 7 under par. Wow. And she's been great. She's been great.
It's a lot to be proud of. A lot that she's picked up from you, just that commitment to work ethic, I know your other daughter's playing volleyball now, doing fun things.
She was be really good at golf, but she said that's too much work.
Too much. Yeah, she saw Mariah go through it. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate your time. I'm gonna give you some lightning round questions. So I didn't prep you for these at all. So we're just gonna go with it.
We'll still be friends.
So if you're a Tar Heel guy, you got to be a Jordan fan.
I am.
Do you have a favorite Jordan moment or game?
Believe it or not, no. I just like it.
Yeah.
I'm a Jordan fan. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm originally from Arkansas.
Okay.
So I'm a bigger Scottie Pippen fan than I am a Michael Jordan. I might have a bunch of Jordans, but
Pippen. That's interesting.
Pippen's the man.
Right. One item on your menu that you still get excited about eating.
Oh, just a brisket sandwich.
Yes. The classic. It is something.
It is.
Every time. I don't explore your menu enough because that is so good, is what it is.
There's so much more now.
I know. All right. So last question. We're both people who love and invest in Clarksville, but we got people joining us all the time from all over the place. Yes. So if you got one word for people who are just getting newcomers to town, whether they're coming here from the military, they're coming here just picking it as a place on the map, what's your word to them? How to enjoy and invest in our city?
Just get out.
Just do it.
Just get out. Yeah. I mean, I've been here since 2005 and I'm still finding things here in Clarksville. Right. It's just like, there are different gyms here. Yeah. That if you, become so complacent and you're always doing the same thing, the same thing. Get off of social media. Don't go off of what other people are saying.
Yeah.
Just get out and explore for yourself.
Yeah.
But even like with us, people are like, well, how long have you been here? I didn't know you were here. I'm like, we've been here since August. I just tell them we're just Clarksville's best kept secret.
Yeah. Not for long.
We're working on it, man. We're working on it. The secret menu is no longer a secret.
That's right.
So it's just get out there and explore. Get away from your phones. Get away from your TVs.
Yeah.
Just get out.
I love that. Well, man, you dropped a lot of nuggets on us today.
Hey.
A lot of wisdom. It's a great story of Legends, your family. We're glad you're here. Glad you're
Thanks for having us.
Using your gifts that God's given you
Yes.
to be a blessing to our community. It really adds value to it. So just be
That's what
encouraged
it's
and keep going on, man.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, hey, thanks for making it to the end of this show, making it to the end of the episode. If you would, share it with your friends. If you heard something that was awesome, make sure that you let somebody know about it so they can enjoy and benefit from this great content as well. We'll see you on the next episode.